Welcome into Sports Nightcap. I am your host, Caleb Calhoun. We've got a fun night to get to. I'm sorry I was off again yesterday. I was sick. I wanted to recap the NBA Finals live, and I was just really sick, so I ended up not doing it. But I'm here today, and we're going to talk a lot of the NBA Finals. There's still a lot of NBA talk still to get to. That's going to be the focus of this show as the finals are over and the NBA draft is later this week. So we're going to recap the NBA Finals, which I did watch, the Tyrese Haliburton injury, obviously. We're going to talk about what does it mean for the Thunder? What is their legacy with this title? Is it open? That's obviously going to be the big talking point. And then we're going to talk about Kevin Durant getting traded to the Rockets, which happened the day of Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I just can't believe that they would steal the news from Game 7 like that. But maybe it was a good thing because of the injuries. So hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn your notifications on. We want to continue to build something at Sports Nightcap here. We're having a lot of fun. I'm loving doing this, but I can't keep doing it without your help. So please do that now. And let's dive in with the main story of tonight, building off what happened yesterday. The Oklahoma City Thunder closed out the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 of the 2025 NBA Finals, winning 103-91, capping off one of the better seasons in NBA history, as they went 68-14 in the regular season and then won the final. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won Finals MVP after winning regular season MVP, a rare accomplishment that not many people do. Even Nikola Jokic, who I think is the best player in the game today, hasn't yet done that. Finished with 29 points, 12 assists. But the elephant in the room and the real story was Tyrese Haliburton leaving the game 7 minutes in and not coming back, suffering what turned out to be a torn Achilles. We will discuss the Tyrese Haliburton injury soon enough. But I actually want to start with the Thunder and ask this question. Is their NBA Finals win tainted because of the Tyrese Haliburton injury? And if so, how tainted? I'm somebody who picked the Thunder in 5 games unless they lost Game 1, in which case I picked them to win in 6 games. I was wrong. It went all the way to Game 7. I'm also somebody who thinks Tyrese Haliburton's playoff performances are overrated. I'm not as high on him as everybody else. But I also think when your best player goes down 7 minutes in and already had 9 points, there is something to be concerned about, even though Indiana was trailing by just 2, I believe, when he went down. What really stands out to me is that Oklahoma City's offensive production was not there in this game. So you have to think Tyrese Haliburton would have been able to make a difference. And here's why. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, yeah, he went to the free throw line a lot again. That's your typical SGA hate where people are going to say he was drawing fouls. He did have a double-double, 29 points, 12 rebounds. But SGA was 2 of 12 from 3. 8 of 27 from the field. Highly inefficient. I mean, that's like a Game 7 of Kobe's in the 2010 NBA Finals. Okay, SGA was not good in this game. So with that said, particularly when you consider Jalen Williams was only 7 of 20. Rick Carlisle's adjustments still worked on him. Luguentz Dort was 3 of 10. They were 11 of 40 from 3, under 30%. I don't think, yes, I know they only turned it over 7 times, but I don't think, and Indiana turned it over 21 times. That ended up being a huge difference. But I don't think there's any way to look at this series and look at this game and not think that if Tyrese Haliburton didn't play, that Indiana may not have won this game. I got to be honest. I think that's a very strong possibility now. And because of that, yeah, I have to say OKC's title win is tainted. And it's largely tainted. Injuries happen. It's part of the game. It sucks. But it's tainted because of how bad SGA played from an efficiency standpoint. You can't play that bad and get the Finals MVP and not say it was by default. It was by default. I'm sorry. SGA's Finals win and his Finals MVP was totally by default. It is not as legitimate as other players who won the regular season title and won the Finals MVP. It's just not. I can't go there. Not after the way that played out. So with that in mind, sorry SGA, but yeah, I firmly believe that this is a tainted finals. And guys, here's the big problem with the NBA right now. This is an underrated problem with the NBA that is not being talked about. People are addressing the ratings decline and things like that. And there's a lot of reasons. Part of it is how people consume the NBA content, because you're seeing hockey ratings decline too. But a big part of the NBA ratings decline, I think, more than anything, is the vast majority of titles have been tainted over the past 11 years. Let me say that again. To me, the biggest reason for the NBA Finals ratings decline has been the vast majority. Excuse me, let me say that over. Let me start that over. The biggest reason for the decline in ratings behind the NBA is that the vast majority of finals championships have been tainted the past 11 years. In 2015, you had Kyrie and Kevin Love get injured for the Cavs, in which Golden State won the series in 6 games. In 2016, LeBron led Cleveland back from a 3-1 deficit to win the series 4-3, all because Draymond Green was suspended in Game 5. In 2017 and 2018, Kevin Durant joined forces with the Warriors for 2 cheap rings that no one considers legitimate. In 2019, the Warriors lost to the Raptors in the finals because Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both suffered injuries. In 2020, you had the COVID bubble when the Lakers won it. In 2021, you had the shortened season post-COVID, which the Bucks won. And now in 2025, you had Tyrese Haliburton go down in Game 7 with an injury. This has been the key problem for the NBA. This has been a huge problem for the NBA, is that I don't understand how, with load management increase, finals have been getting tainted. This is the great irony. They're sacrificing regular season ratings for load management for the playoffs, and yet injuries are up at key moments in the playoffs. Maybe it's just bad luck, but it's weird that it's happened like that. And because of that, because of the tainted finals, combined with the load management of the regular season that I don't blame teams for doing, but they got to do it for the playoffs, and it does hurt the regular season ratings. It's killing NBA ratings overall, and it needs to be addressed. It's a really, really, really big deal. OKC beating Indiana adds to that. I hate that it adds to that, but it does. Also, where does this Oklahoma City Thunder team rank among the greatest teams of all time? Where does this Oklahoma City Thunder team specifically rank among the greatest teams of all time? I'm not sure they're top 5. I get they won 68 games. They were incredibly, incredibly elite throughout the regular season. They rolled through the regular season, but they did struggle in a way that you should not be struggling if you're them. And I got to say, I honestly do believe that I think there's teams that were better. And I'm just going to go down the list. I don't think this Oklahoma City Thunder team is top 5. I'm sorry, I don't, and I know that's controversial. But let me just name the teams that are absolutely 100% better than them. The 95-96 Bulls were better. They don't rival the 95-96 Bulls. Oklahoma City went 68-14 in the regular season and needed a Game 7 to win the NBA Finals against Oklahoma State went 68-14 in the regular season and needed a Game 7 to win the NBA Finals, and then the best player on the other team got hurt in that Game 7. Meanwhile, the 95-96 Bulls went 72-10 in the regular season and didn't let any series go beyond 6 games that year. They don't rival the 71-72 Lakers, who went 69-13 and won the NBA Finals 4-1. They don't rival the 96-97 Bulls, who also went 69-13 and won the 97 NBA Finals against the Jazz in 6 games. Now, the 91-92 Bulls and the 85-86 Celtics are 2 other teams that this Oklahoma City team doesn't rival. I know both of those teams had 1 less win than the Thunder. Both the 85-86 Celtics and the 91-92 Bulls went 67-15, but they were super dominant, super elite, and they pretty much manhandled their way through the season in a way that Oklahoma City did not do it. And particularly the 91-92 Bulls, once again, they won the finals and didn't let it go 6 games. The 85-86 Celtics won the finals against the Rockets and didn't let it go 6 games. When you take all that into account, this Oklahoma City Thunder team is not a top 5 team of all time. I'm sorry. Now let's get to Tyrese Haliburton specifically. Tyrese Haliburton, as we're talking about this, suffered again a torn Achilles early in the NBA Finals Game 7 matchup against Oklahoma City and had to leave the game, and Oklahoma City won. Now reports are out that he could miss the entire 2025-2026 season. I think Indiana should not let him come back next year, and they should tank. I think they should tank and build themselves to be an even better championship contender in 2026-27. Indiana was lucky to be in the NBA Finals. There was a lot of luck in how they got there. They kind of backed their way in. They are a 50-win team that would have been a very underwhelming NBA Finals champion, would have won it because Rick Carlisle is just that elite of a coach. But if they can land a generational talent in the draft because they were bad 1 year with a key player injured, well, at that point, you're talking about a potential dynasty. Don't forget this, guys. Tyrese Haliburton's only 25 years old. You have him sit the whole next season, you tank, and then he comes back at 27. May take him a year to get to full form, but that's fine because if you have a top 5 draft pick that you're a lottery pick and you get the right guy, they'll take a year 2 to develop with the rookie season. And then when Tyrese Haliburton is 28, you have a chance for a dynasty. And I honestly think, I really do firmly believe that the Pacers should tank. There are guys already that you could be looking at if you were the Pacers that could be complimentary to Tyrese Haliburton in 2026, 2027. Now, let me talk real quick about my thoughts on this because I have made my feelings on Tyrese Haliburton very clear. I think he's a very good player. I think Tyrese Haliburton at his best, though, is a number 2 option. I think he's in the right position as a point guard more than anything else, but I think he should be a number 2 scoring option. Okay. Pascal Siakam will still be 32. He'll still have some years left. The biggest thing they could use is an elite 2 guard or an elite wing. And they can find that in the draft. They could find Tyron Stokes, who might actually be the number 1 player in the draft, is probably the perfect player for them to land. They could just plug him in and dominate. Haliburton and Stokes would be epic. They could get an inside-out game because they could go into Finland and go overseas. Mika Murin is considered a very elite post player at 6'10". Haliburton and Murin would be a great inside-outside matchup. That's somebody to look at in the NBA draft. I'm saying all of this because I really do believe that if they get a top 5 pick, they'll be able to get, which they could if they tank next year, they could land a player that can make them really elite. And for those who don't know the story, this is what the Spurs did. David Robinson had suffered an injury in 96, 97, and they just set him the whole year, basically tanked to get Tim Duncan. And they landed Tim Duncan, and that launched a dynasty. David Robinson was there for the first 2 titles. Now, the Spurs kept drafting well after that. I mean, they landed Tony Parker at the bottom of the first round and Manu Ginobili at the bottom of the second round. And so the big 3 of those 3 won 3 more titles. I think Ginobili and Parker were there for 4 of the 5 titles. Tim Duncan was there for all 5. David Robinson was there for 2. And obviously Kawhi Leonard was there for the last one. But it was a brilliant move. They tanked a year, and they landed Tim Duncan. I don't see why it wouldn't be a wise move for the Pacers to do that next year. Tyrese Haliburton's not going to be good next year. Why even try to force him out there? Let him get fully 100%, draft your guy, make an elite duo, a dynamic duo that in 2026-27 plays together and develops, and then in 2027-28 is positioned for a dynasty if you're Indiana. I see no reason that can't happen. Indiana should absolutely tank. They should keep Rick Carlisle on board and not care how many games he loses next year. I don't know why anybody would ever let Rick Carlisle go to begin with. Again, he is the best coach in all of basketball. But they should absolutely tank. Let Rick Carlisle on board. Let him stay through the tank. Let everybody know you're tanking. And then you can have a dominant team, maybe dynasty right after that. Look, tanking is not dumb. And everybody thought Brett Brown was being railroaded when the Sixers tanked for years. But they never fired him, honestly. They didn't fire him until the COVID year after they lost in the first round of the playoffs when they seemed to have a lot more talent and they wanted to try to go get Doc Rivers. But then the Spurs hired him and he is now as an assistant. And so he could be on the road to becoming a head coach again. I don't think tanking is that bad of an idea. And I really don't think it's a bad idea with the deal with what the Pacers are dealing with Tyrese Haliburton. I don't. I think Tyrese Haliburton is a Robin to a team. I don't think he's a Batman. I don't think Haliburton's a Batman. Maybe he can be your clutch guy if you actually believe those clutch shots are legitimate and not just pure luck and Rick Carlisle's coaching. I do think he can be a key important piece of a team as a point guard. I think he can be the second best player on the team. Tyrese Haliburton can't be the best player on the team. This was a really, really fluke year to begin with. Indiana's not going to be able to repeat it. But if you make Tyrese Haliburton the second best player on the team and you draft somebody that could be the best player, you draft a superstar, or you trade your draft picks and you land somebody elite, land another superstar, I think you could be in a very strong position to have a dynasty at Indiana, to go for a two-peat or to go for a repeat or a three-peat or something like that. Again, it depends on who you would draft and how you want to build your franchise. But if I'm just pulling up the Pacers contracts right now and who they're going to have to re-up and everything like that for their team payroll, they got Siakam locked in through 2027, 2028, when I would think this deal would take off. They got Haliburton locked in through 2028, 29. Miles Turner's contract is up, so they're going to need a new power forward. This is what I would do, and I'm dead serious on this. Let Miles Turner walk. Sit Tyrese Haliburton the whole year, and then draft a lottery inside presence or trade for one the next year that you have an inside-out game with Tyrese Haliburton. That would be the absolute best way to build this franchise. And I'm telling you right now, if it happens, Indiana would be in great shape going forward with who I believe, and I insist this, is the best coach in the sport in the league in Rick Carlisle, given what he's won with. Siakam, you could also have a plan for him after his contract's up in 2028. But I think that's the magical year, is 2027, 2028. When you got Siakam on the final year of his deal, he will still be 34, good enough to be effective, but not elite. Tyrese Haliburton right in his prime at 28. And you'll have a lottery pick that will be in his second year. If you tank in 2025-26, you have a lottery pick in 2026 who will be in his second year and ready to take off in 2027, 2028. That will be the magical year. And then you let Siakam retire off into the sunset and you move forward with Haliburton and your new lottery pick or your new assets you acquired through your lottery pick by tanking this year. But tank, guys, tank. If you're Indiana, tank. That's the biggest move. It's the smartest thing to do if you are the Pacers. Finally, obviously the earthquake of the Sunday afternoon is Kevin Durant to the Rockets. Once again, Kevin Durant, an all-time great offensive wing player, arguably one of the top 3 small forwards in history. Surefire Hall of Famer. Spent most of his career as one of the top 2 players in the game during his prime. Is going to his 5th team after playing for Oklahoma City, winning 2 titles with Golden State, then trying to build a super team in Brooklyn, trying to build a super team in Phoenix, and now is trying to build a super team in Houston. Every time Kevin Durant sets up a team, you think you might have a title contender, and then you never get it. With Brooklyn, you thought you were getting a historic super team, and the Kyrie Irving debacle happened, injuries happened. That's just how it went. But he was traded to Houston for Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and a top 10 draft pick. Houston was 52-30 this past year. A lot of times with these trades, we don't pay enough attention to who was given up. And you would have to wonder, is that a reason to be concerned if you're the Rockets? This is the first time I'm seeing this since Brooklyn. And Brooklyn, I would not have picked Kevin Durant to be successful if I knew everything that was going to happen within the inner workings of that franchise. This isn't Brooklyn. I think this move is going to work. And here's why I think it's going to work. Kevin Durant, one of the reasons that the moves for him have never worked out as well as people thought, is Kevin Durant is a vastly overrated player. Kevin Durant is an elite scorer, an elite shooter. He's a very mid passer. And he's very mid at taking care of the basketball. He turns it over. He can't pass out of a double team. This was how Oklahoma City blew a 3-1 lead to Golden State all those years ago back in 2016 when he was at OKC. He was turning the ball over and unable to pass out of double teams. Golden State figured that out, and he didn't know what to do, and then he ended up going to Golden State right after that. That's a huge problem with Kevin Durant, and it's why Kevin Durant should never be considered on the level of LeBron James or Larry Bird for the best wing of all time. LeBron's the best wing of all time. Larry Bird's the second best wing of all time. That's just how it is. Kevin Durant is significantly below them. As he's gotten older, he is also a liability on defense. He was never great on defense, but he could use his length for certain things. But one of the things that has cost him in Phoenix is he couldn't pass, like I said, and his defense has now gone from not being a strength to being a very, 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 very big albatross around teams' necks. And it's a problem. Kevin Durant's defensive box plus minus was negative 0.7 this past year. Yeah, it was negative 0.7. It was in the negatives early in his career too. This is a problem. But here's the truth. The Rockets last year were an elite defensive team. They had the fourth best defensive rating in the NBA. Their offense is what they've needed to pick up. Their offense was 13th best out of 30 at 115.3. So they needed to improve their offense. Now you may ask the question, did they hurt their defense to improve their offense? I mean, after all, Dillon Brooks is a known famous defender. He was great with the Grizzlies. The dude talks. He gets in people's faces. He's a frustrating, pesky wing who gets in your face. Well, Dillon Brooks is not the Dillon Brooks of old. Dillon Brooks averaged less than a steal a game this past year, and his actual defensive box plus minus was 0.0. He provided no value to this team defensively whatsoever. I kid you not. Dillon Brooks on that, in terms of things like defensive win shares, he was at 2.5. That was 6th on the team, despite the fact that he was a starter. So Dillon Brooks provides hardly any value as a defensive player. Now, Jalen Green was 3rd on the team in defensive win shares at 3.2. But Jalen Green's defensive box plus minus was negative 0.5. He was a liability on defense. Now, negative 0.5 plus 0.0 for a guy who was negative 0.7 in defensive box plus minus. Kevin Durant is still a much, much bigger fear overall defensively, but it's not enough of a drop-off to worry because, again, his offense is going to make up for it. And to be fair, you've got key players anyway who will still be on this team. So I think when you take that into account, I actually think this is a great pickup. The defense will stay where it is, okay? Because Amen Thompson is going to be back. He is on a team option. They're going to keep him. He was one of their biggest defensive specialists last year. And that's probably the biggest reason to, if we're just being honest with Thompson there, that's one of the biggest reasons to believe in him. Fred VanVleet is still there. He's got a year on his contract. Steven Adams is gone. But again, Fred VanVleet's going to be there. Amen Thompson is there. I think Houston will be in great shape with Kevin Durant there. It's the perfect pickup for this team. There's just no way you can doubt it. And Amen Thompson, by the way, is only going to get better defensively. He averaged 14 points last year per game, but defense was a strength, 8 rebounds. He is going to be an elite wing defender. Elite in the post, okay? So while they do lose, basically the meat of this trade, because Dillon Brooks is just not that great of a player, guys. Sorry. The meat of the trade is Jalen Green's offense versus Kevin Durant's offense, and you're taking Kevin Durant's offense over Jalen Green's offense. So I actually love this trade. I think it was really smart. It's the first time that Kevin Durant is going to a team where he's a fit for, because, again, Kevin Durant's not LeBron, he's not Michael Jordan, and he's not Larry Bird, and he's not Shaq. He's not a guy you can just plug in anywhere that you go after. And it wasn't even really that in his prime, honestly. He's a Hall of Fame player who has to be in the right situation. He's in the right situation in Houston now. This is a great fit for him. I think Kevin Durant is going to be a very, very special player in Houston. If they can all stay healthy, I do believe they will be able to make a run at an NBA title. All right, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Sports Nightcap tonight. Again, please hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn your notifications on, tell a friend, and please help me build this thing out. We're going to have a lot of great fun. We next go live again. We try to go live every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. We will next go live on Thursday, and it will be after the NBA draft, which does begin on Thursday. It is the 79th NBA draft. The first round basically will be taking place. So the first round is on June 25th. We will go live recapping the first round. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. I will see you guys again on Thursday with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a presentation of Sports Nightcap.